still trying to be to the point. I think a good general overview is important here. Next slide, please. I'll do a quick presentation on 4 main points. The first point to see is there a need for investment in our sector. Social services, it's quite difficult to define from country to country, but on average it will include childcare, care and support for people with disabilities, and care and support for elderly people, in addition to other type of support, such as support for the homeless people, and etc. So it's quite a big sector here, which employs over 10 million people in Europe, and is at the moment the biggest job creator in UK with health and social services since 2008. The second point we'll talk about, what does the EFSI legislation actually say, both in terms of the European Commission's regulation, but also the work that the Parliament has done here a few years ago. The third bit would say, what is the reality? So where are we 1 year on in terms of investment in social services? And then the fourth point will be what should be done in the future to maybe improve the mechanism. Next slide, please. So I put a memo of Margaret Thatcher saying, "I want my money back," and I think we would phrase it a bit differently today. But maybe it's time to have a new quote which says, "We need our money back," in terms of social services and investment. Over the last 10 years, for different reasons, there has been, mostly all, I would say, if not all countries, have cut public funding towards our sector. At the same time, it has been increasingly difficult to get access to private investment, and also this difficulties in getting access to funding or financing has been made harder. But alongside this, there's a growing increase in demand for social services, with demographic changes, increasing inequalities, and so forth. And also with this rise in demand for services, there are also lots of jobs that are in the sector. The limited ability to gain sufficient funding is making it increasingly difficult to get jobs of good quality, and therefore to attract young people, particularly into the sector. So there is a need for investment in terms of responding to these challenges. Next slide, please. So what will the money go for? Quality social services play an important role to help people be included in society, whatever the age, and included in society and to participate in society. Could be elections, could be going to the supermarket, could be getting a job, and could be going to a school. And by helping people to be more empowered and to contribute to the society, of course that has a resulting impact on the economy thereafter. What's needed? We need to modernise the social infrastructure in Europe. Social infrastructure goes in 2 ways. On the first part is the hardware, so the physical infrastructure, building new flats and so forth. And then after that is also the software, which are actually people who provide the support and the care, and we need to work on training and retraining of staff towards, for example, human rights-based models of care and support. To take a simple example of the social infrastructure, it's a bit different to compare, but it's both, or in the education sector, it's both the school, you need schools for people to go to, but you also need to have good teachers. It's similar, experience in the social care sector, so you need investment for both those matters. Next slide, please. So what does the Commission say? What does the regulation say? What does Chuck Norris say in this slide? The EFSI regulation is quite clear. It says that the increased access to financing should be of particular benefit to SMEs. Many social service providers are SMEs, and they include social economy enterprises and not-profit organisations, and many organisations are of such form. Then the EU regulation, Article 9, states that the EFSI should target human capital, culture and economy, in particular social infrastructure, social and solidarity economy. Next slide, please. So it's quite clear that the regulation does state that investment should go towards the social services sector. What did the Parliament say a few years ago? What did you say a few years ago? Something quite similar, that requirement for the use of the EU guarantee, that the EFSI should support investment in the social sector. So both you have said in the past that money should go in this direction, and so does the regulation itself. Now we need to see what the reality is. So as we know in the EFSI, there are two types of windows. There's both the infrastructure innovation window, which is for over 25 million euro investments. There, the EIB funding, to put it quickly, goes directly to the project promoters. So it's not go through financial intermediaries such as banks, but straight to the project promoters. According to Commission statistics from April, 4% has gone to social infrastructure. It's quite difficult to look in depth about each project, so it might be there, but from our overview, it includes a very broad understanding of social infrastructure, including hospitals, research and development, and issues like that. We've struggled to see real investment straight into social services per se. That doesn't mean that investment hasn't gone to other important areas. Of course, it's important to invest in hospitals, but we were looking specifically at social services, and it's difficult to see any evidence of investment here, which I think will be one more course. Next slide, please. Then the second window, which is the SME window, is for investments under 25 million euros, where the EIB basically works with financial intermediaries, so banks or other forms of finances, to facilitate, to reduce probably the risk of investment for them to invest in risky projects. And of course, risky projects, some could, in some cases, be social services. Another Commission slide dating back from July, 4% social infrastructure. I haven't really seen the definition of social infrastructure there, and there's a lack of information on the EIB website. So it's difficult to judge, get a good assessment, but here again, maybe not enough is done to enable investment in social services. Here, there's a general overview or it's an understanding of what's available to us. Next slide, please, Anthony. So what should be done? The Commission invites me in terms of how the EFSI is constructed. It says that EFSI is based on demand. So if the social services aren't asking for financing, aren't putting projects towards the EIB, for example, then the EIB cannot provide financing. And to that, I would respond, and so would Buzz Lightyear respond, or work on the demand then to make sure that that is possible, although it's of course something that's quite difficult. We have three main recommendations, which I think are proposals for the discussions today. The first is to better target the EFSI instrument to our sector's needs and capacity. Of course, social services, most of them are private, not-for-profit, but they also work on a different financing model as many other business sectors, such as the digital sector, and sometimes our members are really lost with all the words and terminologies and the language used in the EFSI, and maybe to target a bit better to how our sector is actually built. That may mean more flexibility, different types of criteria, simplified procedures, and then maybe less working on equity, but maybe other forms of guaranteed loans or funding lines. The second main point is to communicate straight to the sectors. At national level, of course, we're working with our members to try and raise the issue, but as Luke said earlier, most members have never heard of the EFSI, and that's something that we should change. And how can we change that? We need national platforms for social investment. It's a broad idea. Bring together private investors, social service providers, the EIB, the Commission, different types of stakeholders at national level can really sort of be the beginning of something quite new, and hopefully the EFSI could be helpful to support investment there. And the third part is there's very little involvement of the social services sector itself in the EFSI mechanisms. While it's difficult to get to know what knowledge they have about our sector, because of course it's important, if you do invest in social services, it's important that the social services are of high quality. We don't want to invest in poor quality, dated types of services, because that is detrimental to the individuals who use these services, but also to society as a whole. And similarly, DG Employment, for example, who would probably know most about the social services sector within the Commission. They are not as strongly involved within the EFSI mechanisms as other DGs, such as DG Competition, etc. And hopefully changing that would be helpful, having a big stake for DG Employment to, of course, the European Parliament. That's it. And maybe later we'll have time for questions. I'd be more than welcome to respond to that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.